So have all you guys met me or been on one of my presentations before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Has anyone not met me?
You're very popular.
I am? Okay, well thank you. Hopefully it's my engaging presentation style. Okay, so normally I start every presentation with kind of like an about me statement, but it sounds like you guys have all heard it, so I'm going to skip past that. So hopefully today, by the end of the session, you guys kind of know what a CV is used for, and kind of, you know like how to build one. Can anyone tell me the difference between a CV and a resume?
CV. I raised one hand.
Go ahead.
CV is longer than the resume. Resume is particularly for a job, but CV is used for graduate schools. Also, it will have more details or voluntary experience than the resume.
Okay, good. And there was another hand. Someone else was answering.
It is more focused on the academics than the technical knowledge that you put in the resume.
Yeah, more focused on academics. It includes a lot more than a resume. Those are both good points. So a resume is always, especially at this point in your career, one page. One page. Not less than one page, not more than one page. That's what a resume really captures. A CV, on the other hand, by the time some of you guys graduate, it might be 3 pages, it might be 4 pages. And if you continue to pursue either a career or to pursue something in academia, 10 or 20 years from now, it might even be longer. A CV, there's not necessarily a length requirement because you really want to show a full scope of what you guys have done in your whole collegiate or academic life. And you guys are 100% correct. You can put things on there that would never show up on a resume. Like you can put, for example, like research interests. You'd never put research interests on a resume, ever. Right? Because employers don't care what your research interests are. They care about what your accomplishments have been. On a CV, the graduate programs that you guys want to go to, or PhD programs, professional programs, they really do care about what you're interested in researching. Because a lot of that can contribute to the programs that they have. So if they have a program that's in line with your research interests, that's a good thing, right? I think we'll get to the biggest challenges in a second. So we kind of talked about this last week, but I'm going to go into it just real briefly, and it's what the audience is looking for. So we know that both graduate schools and employers look for the same things, and this is the list that they're looking for. Critical thinking and problem solving, communication, teamwork, those are almost always the top 3 when we ask them to stack rank this list. And then the others are there, but those first 3 are critical. So the hope with either a resume or a CV is that, with either a resume or a CV, you can really display that you know how to do these things. Think about it like this: when you submit a graduate school application, chances are that they have never met you before. So all they have to judge you off of is the application that you submit. And a big component of that, outside of the personal statement, is going to be the CV. It's kind of a marketing tool for yourself. Think about it like that. If the marketing tool doesn't do a good job of marketing your skills and accomplishments, including these soft skills, then it's hard for them to envision what you can do for their program. And a lot of graduate schools, that's what they want. They want to know what you can do for them, not necessarily what they can do for you. They already know what they can do for you. So this is just kind of a box that talks about the differences. And you guys captured a lot of these. I don't think there's anything on here we haven't talked about. Resume, of course, is a lot more professional. CV is a lot more academic, to your point. A lot of times with a resume, it's just going to be viewed very quickly. So the average time a resume is looked at is 6 to 30 seconds. So after it gets past scanning software and actually gets in front of a human, they're going to breeze through it, and they're looking for very specific things on a resume. On a CV, the committees that look at it are going to take a little bit more time reviewing the document. So for you guys, it still has to be built in a specific way, but know that they're actually going to read your bullet points and more than just skim it. And so when you build it, you want to make sure that it still showcases the professional side of yourself. Let's see, the focus and content is going to be very similar. When we get to a later slide, we're going to talk about the bullet points. And bullet points for a resume are always going to be contribution based. So what did you do to contribute to that organization, to contribute to the goals, to make differences there? CV is a little bit different. It's going to be a little more focused on your experiences. What type of research were you involved in your undergraduate career, for example?
So, you said complete history of academics. Is it going to be including your high school or it's only from university?
University and up. Yeah, and that'll go for both resumes and CVs. Employers typically, for the jobs that you guys are going to apply to by the time you graduate, the graduate programs or doctoral programs you're going to apply to, they're not going to care about what you did in high school. But they really do care about what you did in your collegiate life. So focus only on college. And that's for both documents. And the last one, the length, we talked about that. Yeah. So as long as you need to for a CV. I think for you guys, a good CV is probably going to be about 2 pages by the time you graduate. Potentially, for some of you who are just getting involved in tons of different research, you might have a document that's a little bit longer. I know a lot of you guys are going to do like presentations for Scholars Academy, go to conferences, things like that. All of that content we can put onto a CV. Not everyone gets those opportunities. So for some of you, the document might be a little bit shorter. But for some of you, certainly it'll be 2 pages, maybe even a little bit longer. Anyone want to read this? Go ahead.
A Curriculum Vitae, CV, is a broad, comprehensive list of your academic, research, and professional accomplishments, experiences, and skills geared toward grad school admissions, academic positions, or grants.
Excellent. So as you guys kind of look over that, what do you see that's missing?
Employment.
Yes, excellent. So some employers, when they ask you to upload documents for the jobs that they post, it'll say CV/resume, but none of them want to see your CV. They want to see a one-page resume. Same thing with graduate school. Sometimes they'll say, CV or resume, and that could go either way. Like if you apply like a business school, they probably want to see a resume. But a lot of the schools that you guys will apply to, they want to see a CV. Because again, you can add things like research interest, volunteer work, community engagement, like all this other content that paints a better picture of who you are as a student and who you are as a contributor to the programs that you've been in than you can on a resume. So if you think grad school admissions, that's going to be the primary area that most of you guys are going to use a CV for. At some point in your career, you may actually have to do some grant writing, and then with the entity that you write the grant to, or try to get the grant from, they may ask for your CV as well, again, to see the types of research you've been involved in. Have any of you guys experienced anything with grants thus far? Grant writing, anything like that? No? Not the professors? Okay. If you really love academia, a great way, this is completely not related to CVs, but if you really love academia and you love research, if you can become really good at writing grants, that allows for a lot of job security. Just, on the side, if you don't mind writing. So again, as I mentioned, CV, it really serves as your marketing tool. Like they have nothing to judge you guys on except for the graduate school application. So there's going to be letters of recommendation in there. There's going to be your personal statement. There's going to be your CV, test scores. So all of these are different kind of components of the application that you submit to go to whatever program you're trying to get into. And some of them are weighted, I guess, heavier than others. And the CV is an important one. If you think about that slide I showed you guys earlier, there's a tab on there. One of the stacked rank things was communication, written communication. And so if you submit a CV that's not professional, that's not clean and neat, that's not easy to read, that's a giant red flag for them, just like with a poorly written personal statement, that you don't know how to communicate in the written format, right? And for you guys, especially if you're going to do something in research, you've got to be able to communicate in the written format. They're going to expect that you know how to communicate. And if your CV is awful, again, it's going to send the signal that you don't know how to do that. So making sure that the document is, clean, neat, professional, all of those things is going to be a good representation of you. Other than representing your professional side, it also showcases your qualifications, your skills, and of course it makes it easy for them to really make judgment on who you are and what your contributions have been to the program that you're in before applying to them. Oh, yeah, it's a little quote at the bottom. I like to include this in all my presentations, so you're special, know your worth. Last time I talked about this slide probably a little bit more than I should have, but you guys all have like your own unique story, right? And sometimes students ask me, what if, actually I think someone last week asked me, like, what if I'm just an average student with like average qualifications? I promise you guys, like none of you are average. There is something special about each of you, and sometimes you have to, work with someone to identify exactly what that is. But a CV will hopefully capture a piece of that, whether it be a unique research interest, or unique contributions to Scholars Academy or something else. A CV is a way to put that out there for future employers and future schools to see. So if you don't think you're special, let me know. We'll find a way to make you special. Promise you. Okay, so these are things that can be on a CV. Again, it's important that very first one, don't leave anything out. One of the major differences between a resume and a CV is a resume, in order to trim off like excess stuff to keep it to one page, you're going to take out anything that's not relevant. So if you're applying to a position that's looking for very specific skills, maybe they're looking for, someone who has skills in Python, right? You're not going to put projects on there that aren't related to Python. You're going to put Python-related projects to show that you have the skill that they're looking for. A CV, on the other hand, you can put as many projects as you want because you want to show contributions, a broad scope of who you are as a student, as opposed to a narrow scope of why you're relevant to that position. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? Okay. So here's some of the things that you can throw out. So the first one, unpaid experiences. Sometimes people feel like, well, I should only put paid experiences on my resume or on my CV. That's not the case for both documents. You can include unpaid experiences. Sometimes the way that we build this section out isn't going to be quite the same. On a CV, we could probably drop a bullet point in your different unpaid experiences to kind of showcase what your contribution to that organization was. On a resume, if we don't have enough space, we wouldn't have a bullet point there. We focus bullet points just on the actual paid experiences.
When it comes to stuff like unpaid experiences and specifically volunteerism, if you do something like say a workshop at a school, but it wasn't like associated with like a class or anything, it was just you organized it yourself, how exactly would you put it on here?
Good question. So I think you have a couple different options. You could have, is it for the school or is it for a different entity? You just had it posted it at the school.
It was just you yourself decided to do it, you organized it, and you worked with the school to make it happen.
Just a one-time event, or was it multiple events?
I haven't done something like that, but
Okay.
if like
So let's okay. So let's say it was just a one-time event. Then what I would do is I would have a section under education that says something like activities, and then I'd just have the date, the event, parentheses, date, comma, and what your role was. Maybe it's creator, founder, something like that. If it's a series of events, then I would probably include that under like an organizations tab. And this is the event name. Right underneath that, I treat it just like almost employment, if you will. Put the name of the event right underneath that, the founder, and then a bullet point of exactly what you did, the time frames that you did it under, and what you contributed to the school through that event. So that's how I approach that, depending on the type of activity. But yeah, certainly for a CV, that would certainly belong. Because again, remember what you're trying to show to graduate programs is that you contribute to the knowledge and to the overall culture of the school that you're going to. And that's a great way to do that. So the next one, teaching, tutoring, mentoring. Again, remember communication, teamwork, and critical thinking, right? These are three things that you really want to showcase. And a great way to do that, if you guys are like peer mentors, even if you've gone to like middle schools or high schools to tutor other students, it'll show graduate programs that you know how to interact with an audience. And you know how to take your knowledge and share it with somebody else. So sometimes people feel like, oh, I was just like an unpaid tutor for middle school students, I shouldn't put that on. No, absolutely we should put that on. Again, a resume would probably approach it a little bit differently, but on the CV, it should be something there 100%. So the third one, relevant research or projects. This section I think is critical for both documents, especially if you're like a computer science major, engineering major, data science major, something like that. Like having those projects on there will show years of experience, for a resume especially. For a graduate program, still having research projects, especially if you guys are involved in research here on campus, is a great way to show them that you know how to be a researcher. A lot of schools don't let undergraduates be researchers. They always let graduate students or PhD students be researchers. And here, you guys have the opportunity, and hopefully you're all taking advantage of it, to get involved in research. And schools love to see that. They love to see that you know how to be a researcher. If you think like human subjects research, there's a very specific training you have to go through to be a human subjects researcher. And if you guys have that, you can already check that box, that's one less thing the school has to push you through before you can start contributing. If you know how to run a lab, for example, if you know the different safety procedures, if you know the different research procedures that go into running a lab, and you guys probably know that a lot better than me, the school will be able to see that and they'll recognize that, okay, there's fewer things that I have to teach this person. And that's a good thing for you guys. Publications, well, research papers and publications, kind of similar. Some of you guys are working with PIs or faculty members who will have their research published. Typically, not always, I've worked with doctors that their name is the only name on the research publication. They can really contain that well themselves. And I've worked with other doctors that, hey, anybody who contributes, even if it's a very small percentage, their name gets included in the authorship of the paper. So find that out from the faculty members that you're doing research for, whether or not your name is going to be included when they're published. If your name is included, then you can list it on your CV as a publication. And again, that's a good look. And if they're published, that means other schools can go look at the published work, see exactly what you did, what your contribution was, and what the research was about, which you want them to be able to find that stuff. Leadership roles, this one's pretty self-explanatory, I think, but I'll spend a little bit of time on it. So let's say you're a president of ACN, or I don't know, vice president of some other organization, or the founder of some other organization. Those are all leadership roles. I mean, you took the initiative, or you did something to contribute again to the school and to the organization. And so having that as a standalone section is a good idea for you guys. If you you think back to that list at the beginning, towards the bottom, one of the tabs was leadership. Again, graduate schools are looking at you on a piece of paper, and they want to be able to envision having you in their program. And if they know that you're a leader and you know how to communicate through these different leadership roles that you have, it's a good look for you. Next one, professional association. Same sort of thing. It shows that you're invested. It shows that you care about the industry. I think a good example. So if you're an engineering student, you're a member of a very specific engineering organization, chances are you have to pay dues to be part of that organization. And if you're paying dues to an organization, that should show graduate school committees that you're committed to that industry. And they want students that are committed. Like, remember, they don't let everybody in, right? And if they think that, kind of like what we learned last week with the personal statement that was written for a English program for a young lady, or a history program from a young lady that really liked English, right? It shows that she's not committed to that program because her favorite subject is something unrelated. And so you guys want to be able to show that commitment, and you can do that through your professional affiliations. Next one, hard skills. This kind of goes back to what I was saying about the research projects. You want to be able to show that you have the different laboratory skill or technical skill that's needed to do the type of research that the graduate or PhD program you're applying to is going to need from you. And then of course the last one, relevant coursework. Here, any course you take that supersedes a lower level course, you can remove the lower level course. So if you're in Calculus 3, don't put Calculus 1 and 2 in there, right? I'm sure there's lots of layers. But you always want to put the most senior level stuff, the most advanced stuff there. So something else you can do. If the graduate school that you're looking at or PhD program you're looking at has a prerequisite, like courses that you have to take before you can apply, this is another great place to make sure that they can see quickly that you've taken the courses you need to apply the program. Of course, they're going to ask for transcripts too, but having it show up in 2 places, in this case, is an application. So this is the area that I think the students that I've worked with have by far the most challenging part, the most challenging time with. And that's actually building out the bullet points for all the different sections I just mentioned. The way that you always want to do it is you always want to start with a strong action verb. And this is true for both resumes and CVs. So if you think of words like handles, aids, works with, helps with, assists, those are all very passive. That's like someone said, hey, go do this. And so you went to go do it. That doesn't take any initiative on your part. It doesn't take any contribution on your part, other than just being told what to do and then going to do it, right? So those are all very passive words. So you want to find a good action verb. Now you can Google search action verbs, you get a nice big list, or you can just come to our office. We have plenty of lists we can give you. So the goal for any bullet point you have on your resume is to start with a strong action verb. So that's the first piece. I don't know how many times students have come in and the bullet points read kind of like a job description. That's not what they want to see. They don't want to see what your job description was. They want to see what your contributions were. And you do that by starting with a strong bullet point, strong action verb. The next component here, I kind of covered 1 and 2. I think the third one there, quantify. Employers and graduate school committees love to see numbers. They love to see measurable outcomes. If you had a job where, or think about like an SI mentoring, let's say you're teaching other students. They love to see the audience that you have, the number. And you do that by either putting in numbers or percentages, hard numbers. Don't spell it out, actually put the numeric, 10, 20, whatever. They love to see stuff like that. If you think about an actionable bullet point, there always has to be an outcome. And how is the outcome measured? It's going to be measured typically with a number. Now I know that not every single bullet point can be quantified. So it's okay if you don't have numbers on all of them. But the more numbers you have in your bullet points, the better. It draws the eye, it attracts the attention of the person looking at it, and that's a good thing, especially if you have a number there that really showcases a good accomplishment. Which brings us to the last bullet point, showcase accomplishments. So at the bottom, you kind of see some arrows of how to structure it. Does anyone have a accomplishment that they're not quite sure how to make a bullet point out of that we can use for the sake of this presentation?
Well, I have the issue that the only job I had is not related at all to the job I want. So I used to work in an aquarium, so I don't know.
Which aquarium do you work in?
It's in Sea Life. It was in Grapevine.
Okay. Okay, so now I love aquariums. Sorry. Side top. I go to the hobby section of ICD. Okay, so you worked at an aquarium, and tell me a little bit about the job you want.
Well, basically I was like the front desk. People bought tickets for me. I had to like manage the cash drawers, and that's basically it.
Okay, so kind of like front desk support. And tell me about the job you want.
I want to do forensic toxicology.
So forensic toxicology, you're going to be mostly in a lab, some interaction with people, some interaction with the team, I would say, right? I mean, it's not just going to be you solo doing all this work. You have to get the work from someone and give it to someone else. So there will be some communication, some teamwork. So what I would do in a situation like that, I would look at what skills overlap between the two positions. So at the aquarium, like you're also teamwork, you're also attention to detail, that's another skill, right? You have to know a lot of that. You're also reporting to someone and getting work from someone else. So how do we build that out to a bullet point? That would be the next question. So think about your time at the aquarium. What would you say some of the things you're most proud of?
I didn't really do anything there besides just work the register.
Okay, so did anyone ever tell you like, hey, good job on this or good job on that? Like a manager, a teammate, or a client?
No, the managers weren't great.
Oh, the managers, okay, so they never gave you any positive feedback. No, that's tough. Did you ever get like a review there? Like a yearly review, or were you there for just a short period of time?
I was there for almost 2 years, but I didn't get a review about it.
You can make it up, just one.
Well, I will never advise that you lie on your resume, but there's a roundabout way to still check this box and make it an accomplishment focused bullet point. So maybe no one gave you positive feedback, but what do you feel like you did well?
Dealing with really angry customers that are angry for no reason, so I guess my personal skills, interpersonal skills.
Okay, so like interpersonal skills, that's probably communication as well. When you were taking cash, was your drawer ever short?
Once.
Okay, so only one time in 2 years. Okay, so then I would say something like this for a bullet point. I would say something like, how many guests did you serve per day, approximately?
Anywhere from like 300 to 3,000.
Wow, per day.
Yeah.
So then what I would say, I would probably combine that all into just one really good bullet point. And I would say something like, provided an outstanding service to anywhere to approximately 300 to 3,000 guests per shift that included in the skills, different types of skills that you use to provide outstanding service, to define that a little bit. And then at the end, I drop in a sentence, or not a sentence, a line about while maintaining a 99% accuracy during 2-year tenure, something like that. And so the numbers that exist there, you have 300, 3,000, 99, and 2. Those are the 4 numbers that exist. You start with an action word provided, and you may feel that that's not related to what you want to do, but you have that 99%, and in 2 years, you're only short one time. Like, that's incredible. But I used to work for a bank, and in 2 years, I was short a lot more than just once. Well, not a lot more, guys. I wasn't like stealing, but but there was more than one time that my drawer was out of balance. And so 99% accuracy. That's even probably higher than that. I mean, you can probably do the